a big crowd tonight. For us, it's a big crowd. Well, I'm not saying it. Lloyd, if I did to join the crowd, if I said that, man, ain't no difference here. No, I'm ready. All right. Go ahead and open the Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting for Tuesday, June 18th, the public hearing section. Who's going to do the presentation? Bill Fick will do the presentation.
Yes, for the approval of Section 405.050 definitions and interpretations to include the definition of utility trailer. I ask that the ordinance of the City of Warrenton be made part of the record by reference, the comprehensive plan of the City of Warrenton be made part of the record by reference, and packet shown as ADM-97 on the agenda be made part of the record by reference.
At this time, if there's anybody only on the public hearing section would like to come to the podium, state your name. We'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Not seeing anybody, we'll bring the public hearing section to a close, and we will open the regular Board of Alderman meeting. If you would, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next will be the introduction of Jack, I guess it's in parentheses, Brody Smirls.
Board, I'd like to introduce Brody Smalls as the meter reader for the water department.
Is the start date of June 4th?
Yes.
Excellent.
Welcome, Brody.
Aboard. Next is the consent agenda items.
We have the work session minutes from April 30th, 2019 regarding residential inspection and change of occupancy, the regular meeting minutes from May 7th, May 21st, June 4th, and the regular and executive session minutes from the budget meeting on June 11th. Oh, and the downtown sidewalk project bid was awarded to T.S. Banzi in the amount of $194,210. The budget amount for this project was $195,000.
Questions on that? I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Deloy. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer, yes. Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey is absent.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Next is hearing from the public. If you have anything you'd like to talk to us about, please come to the podium, state your name, and we'll give you 5 minutes to speak.
If you would like. Howdy. I'm here for two purposes. First is just have the opportunity on the hearing side. My name is Lloyd Whiteman, and it's in reference to the allowing of fireworks to be shot in city limits. I notice there's not any kind of provision for the responsible parties to clean up their mess. Last year we had a full trash can of joyous stuff that was shot by our neighbors over our house and into our yard, and actually there's still debris clogging up our gutters. So I would like to know what the means is to introduce some sort of verbiage into that rule that makes the shooting parties responsible for the cleanup. And that's all I have.
Counselor, is that typical of ordinances in other communities?
We looked at a lot of ordinances in other communities, and they did not address the cleanup. It's actually the first time I've heard that. That's a great point, Lloyd. It would be covered by the littering ordinance, so if you shoot them off and you leave them, you don't clean it up, it would be covered by our littering ordinance. And, since we're getting closer to July 4th, we can talk to the police department about how we could implement that and see if there's something we can put in place. We probably don't have enough time to get something before the 4th and the dates that they can shoot it off, but I think we could fit it within the littering and enforce it on along those routes, and then look at the ordinance for next year.
So it would seem that if a person was dealing with that issue, it wouldn't be obvious by driving by in a police car, so it would require the person who has the issue to call the city hall
Call and file a
and
complaint.
file a complaint.
And not the answer you're looking for, we can try and work with it. Next, we hearing, or is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak? I'm sorry. Not seeing anyone, we'll move on to the Board of Alderman comments.
I have just a couple. I don't know how many people were available to attend the Fruling Fest this year, but I thought it was great. The Downtown Association, I thought, did a remarkable job with all of the vendors, the bands. It was so nice to have the new Blue Anchor Cafe open. He was swamped with business. I hope it was a nice welcome for him to open his business. I know Deerfields was packed. Their slushy machines couldn't even keep up, so that's great when you're running out of wine slushies. The mayor looked great in his lederhosen, and I am looking forward to another Fruling Fest, bigger and better. And again, I want to thank all the members of the Downtown Association. I also want to give a quick shout out to Terry, because when I came on board, one of the first things that I asked Terry to consider putting in the budget for me was United States flags going from Interstate 70 on our flag, on our light post, coming all the way down Main Street on all of our flag poles. Several years ago, Jerry and I came through a small community in New York. It was not a holiday, but their streets were lined with American flags, and I will never forget how good that made me feel. Now that we are also home to the Veterans Memorial, I think it would be a nice addition to our community to see our way into town and down our downtown Main Street lined with flags. So I appreciate that got in the budget this year, and I look forward to seeing that. So.
I agree with you. I can't wait. Happen.
I want to know if the paper's going to publish a picture of you in your outfit from the Fruling Fest. Adam, is that on the?
On the agenda?
It's possible. Well,
Or the pie eating contest?
well, I think if the mayor's out there, I think it would sell more copies for your paper. I definitely do.
I'll just be honest about that. It was great and fun, but a diabetic should never enter a pie contest. That was not a smart move on my behalf. But, when you're asked and you say yes, you just keep to the obligation. I paid for it for the past 2 days.
How did you do? Did you win?
Are you kidding me? Who
Did you
would
lose?
beat me? I mean, look, have you seen my figure?
Well, were you going up against
Overall,
other adults, or
great.
was this up against little kids?
I was number 1.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it was not blueberry.
No, it wasn't.
I was hoping for blueberry pie. However, he snuck in an apple.
I did. I had a
there,
choice
so
of cherry and apple, and I chose
Yeah.
apple just because I was
Yeah.
afraid of staining.
Didn't want to get on his lederhosen.
It was a lot of fun. I agree with you.
Yes.
It was a lot of
It
fun.
was.
I got to admit, I didn't know how the turnout was going to be, and I thought it was actually really, really good, in my opinion. I think they're pretty
Very
satisfied
nice.
too. Did you
Yes,
talk to anybody?
I
afterwards?
have, yes, I did.
I talked to 2 vendors after the event, and they were very well pleased with the turnout.
I also mentioned to the ladies, that some of the guys that are involved downtown, and they were really excited here. They're very happy.
I think it's something that's going to stick around, personally. I'm happy to see it. Definitely happy with the turnout. If you didn't make it next year because it was excellent. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people came out to show their German heritage and had a lot of fun with it. I can mention numerous people. The car show wasn't huge, but it was good.
Well, it's a start.
Right, and it's in the right direction. I mean, you didn't just have one or two cars; you had numerous cars out there. So the thing is, though, I found out that there was almost 4 or 5 other car shows that were that weekend. So it may be due to why it wasn't bigger than what it was. But for 4 or 5 car shows going on in local areas, I think down in Washington and nearby, this was a great festival.
There, I also wanted to mention I attended the concert in the park Friday night, and it was good, really good. Wasn't as many people there, but it had rained earlier, so But the band I have never heard of, but they did a good job.
Nice, huh? I'll have to probably attend the next one Friday. I think I was still picking up my lederhosens to attend Saturday. Any other comments? Next, we'll do the reappointment of Brian Vogt, Lindsay DeGraff, and Laura Schneider to the Park Board for a 3-year term. I'll entertain a motion to support that.
So moved.
Second.
Somebody said. Who seconded? I'm sorry. Motion made by Alderman Dyer, seconded by Alderman Ock. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Dyer?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Next will be the request for exemption from the time constraint on loud noise for the Warren County Fair. If there's no questions on that, I'll entertain a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent. Next will be the discussion topic. The discussion topic for commercial trucks allowed on Walton Street.
I have a question on that, Mayor.
Yes.
What's the definition of commercial trucks that we're looking at in this particular ordinance? Single axle, tractor trailer trucks?
I believe in reference to the ordinance, what did we label that as, Chris?
It's very specific.
That's why I don't want to misquote it because I know it is detailed out.
Model traffic code is
Playing stump the lawyer.
I didn't want to I'll take a guess. We all know. Motor vehicle designed or regularly used for carrying freight and merchandise or passengers, but
Question. Do it again, please. Yes.
motor vehicle design. Sorry, I had my mic off. A motor vehicle designed or regularly used for carrying freight and merchandise or more than 8 passengers, but not including van pools or shuttle buses.
It could be could be a truck driving, it could be tractor trailer, it could be anything.
Yeah, and we exclude van pools or shuttle buses because you need not a CDL, but a chauffeur's license. Is that Class E? Yeah. Class A commercial, Class E chauffeur, and then break it down. And that's consistent with state statute, Alderman Miller.
But I believe at one point we talked about long-term parking versus, because we didn't want to exclude like a UPS or FedEx, which is carrying merchandise to a certain extent.
We're talking about the trucks going down, or the,
Tractor trailers is what I assumed we were talking.
So the chief was supposed to do some work on this. Did you?
We did table it.
Oh, you wanted to ask Guy
Okay, was Guy?
his thoughts on whether it's roadway construction or whether this is a concern of residents.
And if I remember pulling up my notes, it was due to the structure of the road, if it's able to handle that, or if it tears it up over time, that heavy of a load, or what type of weight restriction would be on that road.
Any truck's gonna tear up the road after a period of time. I watched the traffic, I didn't watch it a whole lot, but most of the tractor trailers that are coming down are turning right here. They're coming down Boone Slick, and they're turning on Southwest and going to the court, or the county building below, and making the deliveries. Then they're heading that way, going out here and making a right, and a lot of them are going to the end of Walton Street. The reason why I believe that they're making deliveries here, and if they go down farther and go back to SAF Holland, they got a little loading dock, and they're not doing the axle loads, the heavy loads coming down. They're doing little deliveries, boxes and that. And if they go down here and make a left, they have a hard time swinging into the gate. So they're turning left here, then going down to Walton Street. I didn't see any trucks, and like I said, I didn't sit there, but I kept an eye. There's a lot of traffic going through here, but I didn't see a whole bunch going down Walton. So, but the roads, I mean, they're holding up, and they've been doing it forever.
Does this topic come up because of a request by a citizen or neighbors, or was it just something we?
I believe Alderman Costello brought this up because he had had concerns from neighbors on Walton Street about the truck traffic.
I'd heard some on the trailers as well on Walton.
I can understand tractor trailer trucks, but if you got just a little box truck,
A lot of times they'll restrict a truck over 30,000, licensed over 30,000 pounds on a street, you know. But a lot of these moving trucks are they're not licensed that heavy, 26, 24 foot box truck.
But some of them are
You want to
18.
keep the big trucks off of there.
Some of them are 18-wheelers coming down. But it looks like they're local deliveries is what they look like. You know, the guy loads up in the
Are
morning.
they turning off 47 up there and
Well,
coming this way?
No, they come down Boone Slick, and then they turn right here and make a left. And a lot of times they park
Right here?
Yeah, and they park by the jail. They're going to make a delivery, and then they get in, they go up, and they make another right-hand turn and go down. And it's a straight shot then for them to go into Binkley's. And I've also talked to Binkley that talked about putting up signs, you know, no trucks coming through, and their statement is they can push it, but there's a lot of times the trucks, like their big stuff coming down, it's just low, they're just picking up a load and going down, and that's the way they're going. This looks like it's local delivery, so if they would stop and they wouldn't turn down this way, they would have nowhere to turn around and go. So if they had to pull in here and make a delivery, they'd have to turn around and go back out if we kept them off of Walton Street.
Well, isn't the ordinance that in residential areas that larger trucks are only allowed if they're making local deliveries? That's my understanding.
That's not everywhere. That's only on certain streets
On certain streets.
that have signs.
Okay. Because I know on Steinhagen there's signs, and we get a lot of UPS trucks running up and down the street, and I'm sure they're not making local deliveries. I think a lot of them are overnight at Truesdale, but we still get that traffic.
You know, I see the traffic, the truck traffic. There's probably, I'd say, an average of 6 to 10 trucks a day that either come down, as Guy said, they'll come down and then turn off of West Street, or some actually come, I don't know where they're getting onto Walton, but they're coming straight through. So it's not a huge amount of traffic, but there is some large truck traffic that does go down that roadway.
You're mainly talking about like FedEx Freight,
No, these
them
are
kind of people,
18-wheelers.
XPO, that are doing
Tractor trailers.
pickup and deliveries with a tractor trailer.
I don't know what they're doing. I can
That's
only
what they're
say
doing.
that I see them out of my window.
Most of those flatbeds going down here to load are coming down Main Street.
Right down Main Street.
Yeah, and taking the heavy stuff right back
Yeah.
out.
These are box, for the most part, they're box trucks.
I'm sorry, I just don't think this is a big issue. I can't imagine that if there's 6 vehicles coming down Walton, 6 to 8 vehicles a day, that would be that intrusive to the neighbors. I realize that it might be difficult on the streets, but this has happened forever.
I would agree, Cheryl, I would agree with you.
I don't think it's a big deal. I think we're,
Well, I've drove them, and anybody driving and pulling a 53-foot trailer ain't gonna wanna go over and make that turn.
Right.
If he knows better, you know.
And I don't believe they're full-size 53. They make the smaller ones, and I don't know what the size is exactly. But I would call him your local. He leaves out of Kansas City and makes his rounds and then heads back to Kansas City or picks up and then goes to Kansas City the next day. But the heavy load is coming down Boone Slick with the axles and that.
If it becomes an issue down the road, a much bigger issue, we can revisit it again, but I'm in agreement. I don't think we need to.
Well, that's why we opened it as a discussion topic. There's nothing that needs to be decided tonight. It's just, I know we had tabled this before just to get guys' input on the road, so. I think it's fair enough. Any other comments, questions, public? Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Terry Thorne.
I don't have anything for you this evening.
Next, we'll hear from Finance Officer Dana Belaska.
Good evening. Tonight, a little bit later on the agenda, you have a bill before you for the budget for next fiscal year, for fiscal year 2020. So I just want to take a little time to discuss some of the highlights of the budget. We took quite a bit of time last week at our work session to go over it in detail. But the budget that's presented to you for next fiscal year, revenues total $11,365,581. The primary sources of revenue for the city, sales tax at $4,454,000, and that's up about 3%. Water and sewer related revenues, $3,858,093, up about 4%, and then again primarily due to the rate change. Operating expenses are budgeted at $7,715,581. One of the largest changes in that area relate to wage and related benefits, up about 5%. Capital items total a little over $8 million, with about $6 million of that related to carryover projects. Those larger carryover projects include things like the Main Street sidewalks, the Route 47 sidewalk engineering, sewer for the West Interceptor, treatment plant control upgrades, and the West Interchange sewer improvements. New projects, capital-related projects in next fiscal year's budget total $2,195,000. It includes landscaping improvements for I-70 ramps, a new well at Warrior Water Tower, stormwater improvements along a portion of Route U, and Veterans Memorial at Market Street, and that is along with other projects and equipment. Debt service due next fiscal year comes in at about $2,485,558, and that leaves across all funds an unappropriated balance of about $1,113,213. So again, those are just a few highlights of the next fiscal year's budget. Were there any additional questions related to the budget?
I don't remember if this was a budget item or we just discussed it. We were anticipating being able to make another substantial payment on the loan. Is that part of the budget or is, yes? So I think that's something I think the taxpayers should be aware of, that when we took out a debt service to fund the construction of the new interchange, we pledged to the taxpayers that we would try to pay that off as quick as we could. So I believe it was additional $1 million that we have in the budget to make another payment toward that debt and getting rid of that debt. So
Excellent point. And not to mention that we have already paid down $1.5 million.
Say, as a
Towards
reminder,
that debt.
that's the second time we've made additional
Right.
payments on top of
I
that.
think
per
we're
year.
committing to what we told the taxpayers we would do on the project because they supported us, and I think that's something we definitely owe back to them.
Absolutely.
That's it, if there's no other questions, and again, this will be later in the agenda that you'll see the bill.
Questions?
What are those gonna be posted to the iPads, or was that done already and I just didn't upgrade my iPad?
No, sir, I was gonna do it after this meeting when it's approved.
Okay, thank you.
I was looking for, I'm
Yeah.
going
You're trying to find it, I've done
Yeah,
that.
I was doing the same thing. I was like, well, where is it?
Ordinance, it's there, the budget is there behind the ordinance, but you're gonna get your nice little,
That's a nice
you'll
little.
get your breakouts, don't worry.
Any other questions for Dana? Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll hear from Director of Planning and Development, Neil Fick.
I have a copy of my monthly marketing and business support report. Questions regarding that? I'll let you know that within the last 2 weeks, I've had 8 requests for the marijuana dispensaries. A lot of people are asking about the dispensaries right now as far as our ordinance and where they're able to move into, or if we have any open businesses right now that they would be able to move into.
Have any particular update on time frame when all of this starts?
Still just waiting on the state to issue permits. So, yeah, I don't.
Started to accept permits. I understand they'll start issuing permits in August and September, but since the product has to be manufactured in Missouri, you probably will not see active, they'll be up and running to prepare, but you probably will not see 90 days out after that is what I was told. So you're talking December, January before you're starting to see them have supply.
There may be 9 inquiries, but if I understand right, there's only so many per congressional district, so there's only so many allowed.
Technically, we're not guaranteed one in our district.
I think we'll get
Well, one in the
yeah.
district, but not necessarily one in Warrenton.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, you're not guaranteed one, and there's a scoring system to get the first licenses for dispensaries, and so, nobody really knows since it's the first time. So I'm sure there'll be some hiccups, but I will tell you, as the rules have been promulgated and the state regulations have come out, it's been a pretty accessible and pretty easy to follow process, so hopefully it rolls out without any.
Thank you.
Alright, so we asked for the approval of the amendments to section 405.050 definitions and interpretations to include the definition of utility trailer. The utility trailer means a vehicle other than a motor vehicle designed or intended for general hauling, whether or not such a vehicle is attached to or resting on the ground, or something having a location on the ground not to be used for living quarters. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, there were no conditions. The motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent. Staff recommendations, we recommend the approval of section 405.050, which provides the definitions and interpretation for utility trailers. There will also be an ordinance to follow regarding section 300 with parking regulations, and that addresses the parking of utility trailers.
That'll be a bill later on the agenda. Okay. Questions on that?
Alright, and next I've got the CEF North subdivision request. So on 4/30/19, an application for subdivision approval was submitted for 4 lots to be divided from the property located at 17399 and 17701 Highway M. During discussion, there was to be no improvements proposed at the time for lots 1 and 3. Lots 2 and 4, they've already been developed, and those are the 2 lots that have the homes on them, and those 2 homes would be required to install sidewalks or deposit money into the sidewalk fund. There's also going to be a 50-foot easement will be granted for utility and sidewalks. It'll run along CEF property located on the north side of Highway M. The 50-foot wide utility easement will start at the southwest corner north of Highway M and will run along Highway M and will stop where Highway M meets Franklin Road. There was an additional request for a 50-foot wide utility easement that would be granted for future development and will run north from the City of Warrenton's pump station located just east of the southwest corner of the CEF property and will end on the north side of Highway M just south of the Norfolk and Southern Railroad. So, Planning and Zoning Commission, there were no conditions. The motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent on the June 6th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Is there an explanation as to, I mean, if you look at lots 1 and 2, it's kind of unusual cutout. I mean, if I look at the, I don't know if we can bring the map up, but.
I have Mr. Bart Corman here to
Could
answer
you
any
explain
questions.
what's going on there? Because it just looks strange. Typically, you see a line running from one end of a lot to another end of the lot, and this has it's almost like a carve out.
Sure. For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers. It shows up a lot better if you look at the air photo. And so we had to have 3 acres for the house, and so we were trying to preserve fields and
So that's
tree
that
areas.
existing house that sits out there?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're carving that one out.
Right. And then leaving the fields and other areas around it. And the same way with lot 4, it goes back into a draw, and there's some trees bunched in there, and so that's why it's shaped in its unique
How does
location.
lot 2 lot 1 become sellable? Because it kind of wraps around behind near the railroad line and then on the other side.
True. There's some distance there. I mean, you're looking at lot 1 still 12.14 acres. So it's still sellable, and there's still some things to do. Most likely, that may get divided another time or two in the future, though, depending on layout and use and what's best for that area. So
It's primarily, the first step is to take care of the house that's there and to find that. So if in theory somebody could sell it off, it would have its own lot.
correct, yeah, and because there's some people that want to purchase vacant ground to develop and don't want to purchase a house, but yet the house has some value. So that's the approach we're taking here.
What is the story on lot 4? I mean, that's also a little unusual in the
Right.
design and shape. What's going on there?
And I don't know if Neil's got the aerial.
You can see what that area,
Yeah.
you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be blown up. But if you look at the aerial, there's a bunch of trees back there, kind of in that section, and so we kind of kept the wooded area in lot 4. That's what we did. Plus, there's a lagoon down there, so need to take care of the sewer. So
You usually don't see plots that are this.
no, yeah. But to sell off any portion of this property, we have to go through the subdivision process because it's in the city of Warrenton. So.
I get that.
CEF does request the ability to contribute to the sidewalk fund on the required sidewalk. So I don't know if that needs to be a separate motion or whatever, but
Our code leaves the discretion for payment to the sidewalk fund completely up to the Board of Aldermen to make that determination. I don't know if we've done any calculations of what that would be,
Yes.
what the payment would be.
the total deposit.
The
on the
total,
sidewalk fund?
yeah, the total would be $11,562.
Right of 4 sidewalks everywhere. Half of
I wouldn't have an issue with that because you're going to have 2 undeveloped areas where there's not going to be sidewalks. And then that way we're able to use it later on or do the sidewalks all at one time. That way you're matching the same elevation and things like that. Do you have any?
Yeah, that's pretty much, tried to change the elevation, and now we got an issue with the elevation.
Did you, Bart, does your drawing show a dedication of an easement for the sidewalks?
It's yes, it's a 50-foot utility and sidewalk easement all the way along Highway M. I hope that's
Yeah,
appropriate.
The attorney just grimaced when you, the attorney,
Just because I'm trying to catch Bart.
oh, okay.
It's one of the small pleasures I get in life, and working with Bart for 15
We get him
years.
we get him where we can.
Yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
Yep.
And as you can see, he enjoyed responding to that question.
I'm glad I had the appropriate answer.
I mean, do we need a motion
Build again.
to accept the money or the funds, or how do we handle
This will actually be a bill later on.
Well, I think,
Does the bill include
I think a motion right now would be appropriate.
For these
to-
sidewalks.
Yeah, for the sidewalks, and then the bill's on later tonight.
But the bill doesn't address it, or you'd amend the bill?
You don't need to amend, just address it by,
The-
you can address it by voice vote or roll call, whatever you
I'd make a
prefer.
motion that we would accept money into the sidewalk fund for Lot 2 and Lot 4, in the amount of $11,562.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Dyer?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Other questions for Mr. Gorman?
All right, and then I have a boundary adjustment. On 5/1/19, a boundary adjustment approval request was submitted for the applicant for Morgan Trail subdivision, which originally was platted as Market Court, but the street has always been known as Market Trail since 2005. So we're hoping to change this plat so it'll show it as Morgan Trail and then Morgan Trail subdivision. So there's a total of 10 lots that are being subdivided from the multifamily to accommodate single-family homes. These lots are a portion of those previously approved for multifamily structures, which were never developed. All the lots will meet the 70-foot lot requirement, minimum square footage of 8,400 square feet, and all the required setbacks. The UPS cluster mailboxes will be placed on common ground between lots 13 and 14 that has a detention basin.
So was this prior to this on I guess that would be the south side of the street intended for multifamily, and this is a switch from multifamily to single, is that how I understand it?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so if a person's concerned about density, it's really going to a lower density than a higher density what it was. The other thing I think was noted in here is any water runoff issues that weren't fixed originally on the original plat and work that was done will be corrected by the future developer.
Yeah, as the builder is working out there, they'll just make sure they use correct erosion control if there is any cause, if the water's running off because of the new structures, gutters, things like that, that'll show that there's some type of berm or something that's going to go down to the detention basin. So the builder will be responsible for the runoff, make sure it makes it to the detention basin. And then afterwards, the homeowners association would be responsible for that basin.
Does this now allow any multi-family developments, or is this going to be all single now? It looks like the one at the end of the circle looks like it's pretty large. Is that still intended to be multi-family, or?
Bart Corman is here to answer any questions for you.
I'm sure the lawyer
Sure,
will
for
help
the
you with those
record again,
questions.
Bart
Yeah.
Corman, Lewis and Beatty. Yeah, I mean, I think by your code, I think you gotta have 10,000 for a duplex, so it would be allowed for that. But talking with the developers, there's no intent for that at this time. It would be single family. That's why I'm restructuring it.
At the end, where there's a large lot at the end of the circle there.
Yeah.
Is the next one next to it, it's not a lot, is that just not developable because it sits in a floodplain, or right here?
Yeah, that's common ground, and when it was originally developed, there was a wetland delineated there, so it's not feasible to go back and deal with the Corps and try to remove that wetland.
All I have.
Anybody else with any concerns or comments about the boundary adjustment? Thank you, Bart.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Once again, that'll be a bill later on the agenda. Next, we'll hear from Grounds and Maintenance Director Brad Boozicruise.
Good evening. You have my May report. in front of you. I don't know if you all have any questions.
Could you kind of give us a status on the walking trails at the new park? I know several people have asked, are they going to eventually be done like Binkley's, or are they going to just be
Mulch,
gravel mulch?
they have the mulch has been ground out at the treatment plant, and as soon as we get time, we're going to start hauling that out there to the trails out there and start putting it in some of the spots there where we need it.
Okay.
So it basically just be a mulch trail for right now.
Brad, let me give you a compliment. I went up to the pool this morning and was actually there and met
Was that there early this morning?
It was.
That's when we had the pad that everybody out of the pool.
I don't know.
Is that okay?
There was a lovely young lady who said that she uses the pool every morning. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with her. But actually, I stopped with 3 individuals who I don't know, and I apologize to them if I missed their name. But they gave nothing but compliments to the pool and how much they really enjoy it. They understand that there's arguments on sizing problems or what be it, but they enjoy it. They said the 2 females said they love doing the aqua aerobics and the option to be able to do that. And the gentleman said that as long as his wife was happy and her friend was happy, he was happy, which he's a wise man, very wise man.
Yes, he is.
But I thought I'd pass it along. It was just a good conversation, about 15, 20 minutes talking with them, and it was quite nice.
Priscilla is really doing a good job out there. She's really taking the bull by the horns and shaping everybody up. So it's
Priscilla's the new manager.
New manager, yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers. Wow.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You got my monthly report. Just a few little highlights. We got the sidewalk in on Veterans Memorial from North Market to the School Administration Building. Replaced 2 fire hydrants. Had 1 sewer call, and that was a private issue. And just for kind of knowing what things are going on around town, we had 137 locates, people calling for locates that consists of new construction and things going on in the city. So that's quite a few locates.
That way larger number than normal, is that?
Yeah, it's up a little bit. We got hit pretty good this month. The last month was 102, and then the month before that was 87. That kind of gives you an idea of new things that are going on and people calling for the locates. And if you got any other questions on anything?
I noticed here that you listed there was 3, you raised 3 manholes.
Yes.
Typically, that's an infiltration issue.
It's part of I&I, and then we did some asphalt work, so we raised them the grade level.
We haven't talked I&I for a long time. We were systematically supposed to be improving that to reduce. Is that an ongoing thing? We just don't.
That is, there's some things that we still need to do, but a lot of the I&I was with the new sewer line from Water Street Lift Station, addressing that, and then the new one going out west of town is addressing a lot of that I&I issues. So the biggest part of that I&I is us cleaning some things up that we can do without being under a major construction. But with the new lines going in and replacing what we have already in place, it cleans up a lot of I&I.
They finished the paving on the South Service Road. I don't know what we call it.
Veterans Memorial.
When are they going to stripe that?
Well, as soon as the weather permits. What they like to do is let that asphalt seal a little bit because there's still a lot of tar in it.
Right.
And if you do it right away, the tar sucks up. But that's supposed to be done fairly quick. And they like to get it when it's nice out and the sun's out, so it's beating down on it, so it dries quicker. But that is in the budget for that to be done by that contractor.
So I think I mentioned to you, Terry, once before that a lot of people talking about, can we get the lines put in on South Service Road where Snooks is, because it's supposed to be a lane for turning and there's just virtually anything there. Have we had any luck with the state on that?
I have not, although Eric Meninga was on vacation last week, so, any attempt to recontact him, you got no response other than he was on vacation, so I will continue to try to,
People continue to ask for that.
I know, and I wish I could do something more quickly, but
Oh, with paintbrushes tonight.
do that.
Somebody could. I don't know. Who would be? That would be.
I believe, just so you know, we've discussed it, I'm gonna try and give Eric a chance to give a call back before we make some phone calls to other resources.
We've had a lot of calls on 47 too.
That's where I've gotten most of my phone
Yeah,
calls
we've had
about.
them, and I'll direct them to MoDOT, and then we also call, and then we call the people back saying, hey, we did notify MoDOT. You might want to notify MoDOT also. The more phone calls you get, the quicker it might get done.
I figured the amount of people that I've referred to them and they have recontacted and said they either emailed or left a message, we'll wait just a couple days longer before we start making some phone calls higher than that.
And we do give them phone numbers we had one lady call, was concerned, and we called MoDOT, and then we gave her the numbers to call, instead of her looking it up and trying to find out who to call, we gave them numbers too.
For the record, so everybody knows, I mean, I believe the board agrees. We're not trying to pick a fight with MoDOT. They've been very good to work with. But when it comes to a safety issue, we're not going to allow this to just fall by the wayside. We owe it to the citizens. That's why we're all concerned. That's why we're all voicing our concerns, and so is city staff. If it comes down to it, we'll make proper phone calls to channels we need to. We are in support of it getting done due to safety issues.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Building Commissioner Mike Cross. And before we actually start, all city staff should be complimented, but Mike and Neil, thank you for the workshop we did. You guys seem to take the pretty much the blunt end of a lot of the questioning, and I do appreciate that. I wish we could have relieved a little of that pressure more, but thank you for making yourself available to answer questions, good or bad. So, appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my monthly report.
How many new house permits did we have last year? Do you remember? I'm wondering if we're at the halfway point or.
Last year at this time, we had 29.
This year we're at 29.
Yes.
We're on pace.
The weather, the winter, and the rain has really slowed down the advance of the new construction of the homes. But things are picking pace back up right now. Roll King, I don't know if you've all been out there, but they're moving dirt. They're starting to strip the land now, getting prep ready for that. McRoberts Motors, if you've noticed, that's already got roof structure sitting on it. K4 Fitness is advancing right along. There's been 12 4 to 6 plexes built out at Orange Blossom to a total of 53 units so far. Not including the 12 houses that we've had built with Houston builders. Ben Beckermeyer's been throwing up some houses, and the same thing going on over at Forest Ridge, so we're picking up pace.
Love to see it.
You too.
I'm sure you do.
I do.
I love it when you're enthusiastic about it. It's a good thing.
It's fun. It really is.
It is. It just, you could be taking a negative attitude and feel like it's a headache, but you don't. You always take joy in it and smile when things are going in, and I appreciate that. I'm sure we all do.
Yes.
Yep.
Anything else, Mike?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll hear from Chief of Police Larry Ellard.
Good evening. I just have one item for you this evening, and that's my monthly report.
questions on any of that? No? All right, thank you. Next is the resolution number 328. I'll entertain a motion to approve the reading and passage of resolution number 324,
No, I'm sorry, it's 320.
or 328, my apologies. I'll entertain a motion.
I was waiting for the resolution to be read so we know what we're voting on.
It's entertain a motion for the reading and we've got to entertain a motion for the reading first.
So move. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Deloy.
A resolution to repeal resolution number 244 and to allow certain city personnel to use a city motor vehicle for transportation.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent. Bills to ordinance, I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 16-19.
Oh, it's 23-19.
I'm sorry, 23-19, my apology. I should be reading this a little better.
Call for the first reading of Bill 2319.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Schultz.
Ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Agape Ministries and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 23-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, second by Alderman Miller.
Ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Agape Ministries and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 24-19.
So moved.
Second.
Which one? Motion made by Alderman Ock, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Warren County Council on Aging and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
I entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 24-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Dyer.
Ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Warren County Council on Aging and the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock, Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent.
Before you move, why was 2519 struck? Is that going to come back in a later meeting?
Next meeting.
Next meeting?
The way that the agreement was written, it did not include all of the costs of the officers, so no one seems to know if that was just an oversight in the contract language, and Brandy and I have a meeting with Dr. Klingensmith on Thursday, so we'll discuss it then.
During the conversation with Terry and I earlier, it was just, we would like that to be more specified in there if we can.
Okay, great.
I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 26-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Ock.
Ordinance adopting an annual budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2019, and appropriating funds pursuant to thereto.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 26-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dyer.
Ordinance adopting an annual budget for the fiscal year beginning on July 1st, 2019, and appropriating funds pursuant thereto.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes. Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 27-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Miller.
Ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri modifying the municipal code of the city related to utility trailers.
entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 27-19.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Delloy, seconded by Alderman Ock.
Ordinance of the City of Warrenton, Missouri modifying the municipal code of the city related to utility trailers.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 28-19.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Delloy.
An ordinance accepting the subdivision plat known as CEF North Subdivision by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 28-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Ock.
Ordinance accepting the subdivision plat known as CEF North Subdivision by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 29-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Ock.
Accepting the boundary adjustment for Morgan Trail subdivision, lots 10 through 19 by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 29-19.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Dyer, seconded by Alderman Deloy.
Ordinance accepting the boundary adjustment for Morgan Trail subdivision, lots 10 through 19 by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Alderman meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Dyer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are so adjourned.